Good evening, my name is Katarzyna Nowicka and welcome to Poland Daily News. Despite the fact that the 2020 United States presidential election results are still unknown, at the moment Joe Biden, Democratic Party candidate, has won 238 electoral votes and the incumbent president, Donald Trump, 213. It seems that the fight between both candidates will continue up to the last moment. The vote counting process is still underway. Joe Biden's small advantage over the incumbent president, Donald Trump, does not allow to clearly identify the winner of the 2020 United States presidential election just yet. During a press conference, the Democratic Party candidate, Joe Biden, announced that he takes the lead in swing states, including Wisconsin.
Good evening. Your patience is commendable. We knew this was going to go long, but who knew we were going to go into maybe tomorrow morning, maybe even longer. But look, we feel good about where we are. We really do. I'm here to tell you tonight, we believe we're on track to win this election.
Unlike his rival, during a meeting with the Republicans, Donald Trump did not hide his disappointment, although he thanked all the voters as well as his closest associates.
I want to thank the American people for their tremendous support. Millions and millions of people voted for us tonight, and a very sad group of people is trying to disenfranchise that group of people, and we won't stand for it. We will not stand for it. Thank the First Lady, my entire family, and Vice President Pence, Mrs. Pence, for being with us, all three of us. And we were getting ready for a big celebration.
The U.S. president has announced an intervention in the Supreme Court, which allowed Pennsylvania to recognize votes that would reach the committee within 3 days since the end of the election, if submitted on time.
This is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election. We did win this election. So our goal now is to ensure the integrity for the good of this nation. This is a very big moment. This is a major fraud in our nation. We want the law to be used in a proper manner. So we'll be going to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Last night, voters organized demonstrations in support for both candidates in various parts of the country. In Washington, protesters called for the resignation of the incumbent president. On the other hand, during the ongoing presidential campaign, Latinos expressed their solidarity and support for Donald Trump.
I'm here to support our president. I think he's done a fine job, despite the pandemic, despite it all. He's done an incredible job. He's bringing back the economy. He's brought back jobs. He's fixed our trade deals. He's caring about the American people where no other politician has cared, because Donald Trump is not a politician.
Coming from Cuba, we all know what communism and socialism looks like. And obviously, Fidel Castro was our quote-unquote, our president, our dictator, whatever you want to call it.
This year's voter turnout was 66.9%, which is the highest since 1900.
It was truly historical election. Many people voted. One of the biggest polling places in Los Angeles was at the Dodger Stadium, where thousands gathered, and also people who came during lunch got food, and everybody, all the people who vote first time, the 18-year-olds, get this type of applause from the polling workers. So the atmosphere was very high, people were happy, and it was a historical day.
The majority of voters from Minnesota and Wisconsin support the Democratic Party candidate, Joe Biden, while voters from Florida and Ohio voted for incumbent President Donald Trump. 24,692 patients have tested positive for COVID-19, and another 373 people died as a result of the disease in the last 24 hours. On Wednesday, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki presented new restrictions. Among them were the closure of cultural institutions and the introduction of remote education for the youngest elementary school students.
We are broadening safety principles. These preventive measures must be extended. The first is to extend remote teaching onto grades 1 through 3 and to extend remote learning in grades 4 and above until the end of November. For now, that is the binding date, November 29th. Furthermore, all cultural institutions such as theatres, cinemas, galleries and museums, all institutions that provide cultural services will be temporarily closed because we want to reduce social mobility. According to all specialists, this is the most effective way. Let's stay at home, reduce mobility and social contacts. This will certainly help to implement the strategy of combating the pandemic.
Strategii walki z pandemią.
The president of Warsaw, Rafał Trzaskowski, today dismissed the deputy mayor, Paweł Rabiej. The reason for his dismissal is the confusion surrounding the trip attended by the politician responsible for health matters during the pandemic. President of Warsaw informed of his decision on Twitter.
As Deputy Mayor of Warsaw, Paweł Rabiej, who is responsible for the area of health in the Warsaw City Hall, went on leave without my knowledge and consent in an epidemic, I have decided to dismiss him. I have also decided that Renata Kaznowska will now be responsible for health in the City Hall.
Just yesterday, Rabiej informed that he was unaware that his application for days off following rehabilitation after COVID-19 had not been approved. Some politicians of the Civic Coalition see a certain analogy to Ryszard Petru's famous trip to Madeira. In December of 2016, during the political solstice in the Sejm, the then leader of the Modern Party left for Madeira instead of staying in the country. This fact later deprived him of his party leadership. Now Rabiej, also from the Modern Party, has followed in his footsteps.
I would like such standards to apply in the government. If someone makes a mistake during a pandemic, there is no mercy. I would prefer that the Polish Prime Minister reacts like Mayor Trzaskowski. In such a situation, there must be resignation. I am observing how Warsaw is doing during the pandemic, and it is a model city in this respect. Warsaw has made multi-million-dollar purchases for hospitals. In fact, local governments often have to replace the government in this basic activity.
A former councillor of Warsaw on behalf of the United Right, currently Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Climate and Environment, Jacek Ozdoba, has no doubts. The matter of this leave is only a pretext for resignation.
Here, such an informal and formal leader is Sławomir Potapowicz, a person who is perfectly capable of playing such internal games and still has experience from the times of the Civic Platform. He undoubtedly waited for the moment when Paweł Rabiej would expose himself, causing Rafał Trzaskowski to order his dismissal. I think that Sławomir Potapowicz will replace the deputy mayor.
It is yet unknown who will replace Paweł Rabiej as deputy mayor of Warsaw. Talks on this matter are to take place in the coming days. Robert Vinitskiy, a Confederation Party MP, stated that he would not vote for the presidential bill on abortion. According to Mr. Vinitskiy, the legislative solutions proposed by Andrzej Duda are unconstitutional. The draft of the presidential bill assumes, among other things, that abortion would be allowed in the case of so-called legal defects.
The problem with the President's amendment is multidimensional. First of all, according to the ruling issued by the Constitutional Court on October 22nd, the President's solution is unconstitutional. The second problem is that it is virtually impossible to define this boundary when it comes to the problem of fetal defects and child survival. Thirdly, when the emotions around this issue are so heated and there is a deep political brawl on this subject, it is counterproductive to submit new projects.
Projekt pana prezydenta miał być taką powtórką.
However, as I understand it, the president's draft was supposed to achieve something of a return to the compromise on abortion, except in the case of Down syndrome and other conditions that previously allowed for it.
Zezwalały wtedy na aborcję.
No, pojawia się taki problem, że
The problem is that even the earlier mentioned Down syndrome itself can also be treated as a lethal defect. My assistant's older sister was born with Down syndrome and survived 5 months due to heart failure associated with this disease. She had already been loved and cared for by her parents when she died after only 5 months.
That's all for tonight. Now on to Poland Daily Business with Aleksander Wierzejski and his guest. Good night.